Good morning. So today I saw a photograph on Facebook of a coop that had caught fire, and with the recommendation that people be careful using heat lamps when they're heating their coops. And so I thought I would do just a quick video on how to keep your coop safe with the heat lamp, or maybe to use some other alternatives for heating your coop. Now, I just want to talk first of all about coops. A lot of people have kit coops or small coops that they purchased at the hardware store, and those are generally pretty small. My coop, as you can see, is big enough that I can stand up and I can walk around in here, and it's a metal coop, which obviously makes it more fire retardant. But one of the disadvantages to metal coops is that there's no insulation. So we added insulation in, and you can do that if you have a metal coop or a wooden coop, but you'll also have to put something over it because chickens will eat insulation. So what we did was we put insulation in our wall, and then we covered it and painted over that. So that's one way to help keep your chickens warm. Now, if you have a wooden coop, wood has some natural insulating ability, and so you may or may not want to insulate on a wooden coop. Another consideration is your roof. Now, we have a metal roof, and we lose a lot of heat through it, and we've just decided not to do anything about that. Again, if you have a wooden roof with maybe a composite shingle on it, there's going to be some insulation factor in that, and so that can help keep your coop warm. If you have a raised coop, a lot of people do, you might consider insulating in the floor, but you can also make a windbreak around the outside of the coop that will reduce the airflow and keep the coop floor a little bit warmer. So that's insulation, but let's talk a little bit about heaters. So most people have these heat lamps like what I have right here behind me, you see, and that is one of the cheapest ways to heat a coop, and I think that's why a lot of people use that. There are ways to use them safely, and there are some situations where you simply don't want to use them. And I would say that in a lot of the small kit coops, that is not the proper place to put a heat lamp. The heat's really intense, and you're pretty close to your bedding and your wood shavings. Ideally, your chicken coop is going to be a dry place with good ventilation, but not real drafty, because obviously you want to keep the chickens out of the wind, but good ventilation and dry, and that's a perfect environment for a fire. Also, if you have bedding like we do on our floor, then that is flammable, and that's a consideration. So you don't want to have your heat lamp very close to your bedding. Now, here in my coop, the heat lamp is 6 feet up off of the floor, so that's really not an issue for us. And if you have a larger coop, a heat lamp might be a good solution. But you also need to secure it and double secure it. So you'll see up here on our heat lamp, up there, I do have it clamped on, but then I secondarily have it tied up there. Those clamps can come loose. A chicken can jump up and knock into it, and then that clamp would come down, and this would come straight down onto the floor. Now, it has the guard to keep it from breaking, but then that means it's going to be heating the bedding down below. So definitely tie something around, do a secondary or even a third option for making sure that your heat lamp stays exactly where you want it to be. Now, there are some other options that are actually even safer than heat lamps, and they are a little bit more expensive, and but in some instances they can also be more effective. So I just brought this one in here. this is one of the things we used to use. We used to use a panel heater. This is an oil-filled heater, so there's no coils or anything like that on the surface. It's all enclosed. Now, these are good. You could buy Walmart wall mount versions, anywhere from $35 to $100, and they will heat an area. It's a radiant heat. And so if you put it somewhere near where they are roosting, it will keep just that area warm. They aren't really effective in large coops like ours. You also have to keep an eye on the temperature. You don't want to set the thermostat too high on these. You might, it might be too hot for your birds to get near, and also it can cause problems with the electrical. And anything electrical you put in your coop is something that you need to go in and take a look at it every once in a while and make sure it's functioning properly, and that you don't have any exposed wires or things like that, because anything electrical can short out and have some problems. Now, this year I actually took out my radiant heater, and I actually only have the heat lamp in here by way of example right now. But I switched to what are called, it's a ultraviolet heater, and this is what I'm talking about here. Now these come in different sizes. This is actually the largest size that they have, so it's pretty long, but they actually make shorter ones, so if you have a smaller coop, this would be a good option. Now these are particularly safe because first off, they have an internal thermostat on them that if they reach a certain temperature on the inside of the unit, it will just shut itself off. The other thing about them is you actually can't ever tell if they're on. So this is what it looks like. It's all enclosed, and you don't ever see a light from it. The only way to know if it's on is to put your hand on it. Now this is off right now, so it's cold. But if it were on about here, I would start to feel a little bit of warmth. Now, the way the ultraviolet works is it's much like the sun. So, on a really cold day when you're outside and it's just really cold, and then you walk into the sun and it's just that much better because the sun is shining on you. It works exactly like that. So the temperature in the coop may be really cold, but right underneath that, they're going to have some nice, that radiant heat on their surface. So basically it heats them. And that's why a lot of these, you see that I put it over their roosting bars. And so at night, they can go behind it if they don't want to be directly under it. If they get colder, they can move up in front of it and be right underneath. And so this is actually a very safe option. Now, just like anything electrical, you do have to check and make sure that everything's functioning, that something hasn't worn with the wiring or anything like that. But it's a good, safe option. And I have noticed that actually I put 2 of these heaters in my big coop, and normally with the heat lamp and a radiant heater, I was maybe able to get a 10-degree ambient difference between the inside of the coop and the outside. With these 2 sweeter heaters that I got, I actually noticed a 20-degree difference. And that actually is using less power as well, because these sweeter heaters use 150 watts each, so that's 300 for the 2, but my heat lamp was a 250 watts, so, and I had to have supplemental heat in addition to that. So I'm actually getting better heating in my coop for less power with these sweeter heaters, and they are expensive. But if you're worried about coop safety, about fires, anything like that, these are a good option, and they will keep things warm. Another thing that I would recommend getting with your any heater that you use, whether you're using a heat lamp or something else, is a Thermocube. And I have one right here. So you see right there, there's a Thermocube. And it looks like a little outlet that you plug in. And they come in different temperature ranges, but what they do is they will turn on at a certain temperature and off at another temperature. So this particular ones that I have, they turn on, I think, at 32 degrees, and they turn off when it's 45 degrees. So that too can help you conserve some power. So anyway, that's just a little roundup of some safe options. I would also recommend that if you're using extension cords, that you wrap your extension cords, that you keep them safe, and you check them regularly to make certain that they haven't worn. Just be safe with your power, and be cautious and wise about how you're positioning any heat lamps or heat sources in your coop, and you should be fine. But anyway, that's it. Good luck. Stay warm.